Welcome to this invigorating yoga practice for your ovulatory phase. This is the peak performance phase of the cycle, which means we have a surge of estrogen, a little bump in testosterone, and generally that brings heightened energy levels, and there's a level of physical and mental arousal that comes. Sometimes, however, with that mental and physical arousal, it can have us feeling a bit wired or a little bit kind of overstimulated, overactivated. So a lot of times my personal preference during ovulation, especially the day of ovulation, is to shift to kind of a more low impact, low intensity practice that can still deliver the great workout that you're looking for, but without that activation. So you're not contributing to further arousal, both in mind and body during this time. So let's begin in the center of your mat. Take your feet a little bit wider than hips with distance apart. Just give yourself a moment to arrive. So maybe that looks like a deep breath in through the nose and a slow sigh out through the mouth. Make that commitment to breath here. And then inhale, reach your arms overhead. Clasp opposite elbows up above you and start to hug the elbows into the midline. Feel that expansion in the sides of the waist. Big inhale breath here. And as you exhale, lean up and over to the left. Root down evenly through both feet. Use the brace of your hands to support the torso. Inhale, come through center. Big breath. And as you exhale, up and over to the other side. Root down evenly again through both feet, lengthening the sides of the waist. Inhale, come back up. Release the hands. This time, take opposite elbows behind you, so at the lower back. Again, hug the elbows to the midline. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. And then gentle neck circles, one direction and the other. So we're aiming to create space in the neck, shoulders, heart space today. So just starting nice and slowly, kind of carving those pathways in an area that tends to hold tension. As you're ready, release your arms out to the side. Turn your palms to face up, thumbs back behind you, and then hug the palms energetically to the back of the room, like you're trying to join them behind you. As you do this, notice if the low ribs tend to flare. Can you lift the hip points and the low ribs toward each other so that you're focusing the expansion across the chest? On your exhale, cross the arms in front of you, reach for your shoulder blades. So imagine like you're trying to find a hold climbing a rock. Reach for the edge of your shoulder blades and gently pull apart. Create some traction there, opening, broadening the back of the heart, and then breathe into that space. Release your hands once again. Inhale, arms reach overhead. This time we'll shift to the top of the mat. Keep the belly drawing in as you exhale with a generous bend in the knees. Fold over the legs. Let your head and neck hang heavy for a moment. Shift the weight into the ball mounds of your feet so that your heels grow light. Make sure that the hips are directly over the ankles. Maybe wiggle the hips side to side. With an inhale, halfway lift, bring your hands to your shins. Press your shins back to elongate and stretch the heart and head forward. Feel that awakening in the backs of the legs. And then once again, release the hands to the mat. Keep your left hand planted. Bend deeply into your left knee. Open the right arm skyward. Keep that right leg straight and strong. And without tilting the hips too far to one side or the other, try to keep them in that neutral place. And then wrap your right arm around. Reach for your left hip crease. Draw the left hip crease back so that you're squaring the hips once again. And use that to open the right shoulder skyward. Slowly return, letting that arm float back down to meet the left, and we'll switch sides. So the right hand, right fingertips stay planted, bend deeply into the right knee, open the left arm. Feel that stretch in the outer left leg, shift the weight forward into the ball mounds of the feet. And then same thing on this side, wrapping the left hand to the right hip crease. Draw that left shoulder up and open. Breathing here with every movement. Looking to create more space in the torso, more space in the spine. Slowly return to center here. Big inhale, halfway lift. On your exhale, plant the hands, walk your feet back into plank. Just refining plank for a moment. Shoulders are over the wrists. Heels are pressing back. Legs are strong and active. Draw the hip points and low ribs together and then stretch the heart and crown forward. From here, a few rounds, we're just going to walk the feet, in as close as you can to the hands without letting the hands lift. So you might be on your tippy toes. Feel some weight shifting into the hands, and then walk it back out to plank. Feel when you drop into that alignment in plank. And then once again, coil through the belly. Walk the feet toward the hands. Shift weight into the hands like you're giving it from your lower body to your upper body. And then slowly walk it back out. Last one like this. Press down into the hands. Coil through the belly like you're lifting your legs one at a time. And then slowly walk it back out to plank. Take a big inhale breath here. Hug the elbows, the eyes of the elbows into the midline so you have some energy in the arms. Shift the weight forward and then bend the elbows straight back to lower all the way to the earth. Take your hands a bit wider than shoulder width, spider the fingertips. And then slowly start to lift up into cobra pose. Bend your right knee, look over your right shoulder. Lower back down, head, belly, chest, and then slowly lift up, bend your left elbow, gaze toward your left toes over the left shoulder. We'll alternate here for a few more rounds of breath. Find some fluidity, so see if you can loosen the hard edges in the shoulders and let this be more of a flow, so it need not look a certain way. You don't have to come to a certain lift. Just kind of creating that unison between the upper and lower body in a more dynamic pattern. So it changes with each round, each iteration. Last one to the left here. And then slowly lower down. Hug your hands underneath your shoulders. So fingertips are about at the head of the shoulder. Tuck the toes under. Engage your legs to lift your knees. Coil through the belly and then press yourself up into plank. Send the hips up and back to downward facing dog. Enjoy a few breaths here. Pedal out the feet. Press all 10 finger pads down and forward. And really energize the arms. So you're lengthening the arms nice and strong out of the shoulders. Wrap the inner upper arm bones forward towards the top of your mat and then mirror that in the inner upper thighs. Wrap them back in space so you feel that energy hugging to the center, wrapping around the body here. Step the feet together. With an inhale, send your right leg up and back. Let that hip open without dialing the hips or shoulders open. So really work to square the shoulders so you have that rotation in the lower spine. And then slowly come through center. Exhale, coil through the belly. Hug your knee to nose around the spine. Create that space to step the right foot through between your hands. Nice long lunge here. Let your left knee come down. Inhale, reach the arms up. Find opposite elbows overhead, just like we did in the beginning. And then lift up into that expression, that back bend. Use your back shin anchoring down to stabilize and balance. And you can even lean your head into your arms here. See if you can lift both sides of the waist evenly. On your exhale, release the hands to the inside of your right foot. Find a lizard pose. So really press through the hands so the heart can stay lifted. And bend deeply into that right knee until you feel your hips stretch. Start to walk your hands over to the left top corner of your mat. And then slowly start to straighten that right leg any amount. So the body is diagonal, legs are straight and square. And notice here, if you press down through the right heel and drag energetically back towards the right sitting bone, how it fires up the back of the leg so that you are engaging the musculature as it lengthens. Flex through the right quad by working that leg in the direction of straight. Big breath in and a slow breath out. Come back forward through lizard pose. Enjoy a breath here. Let the hips be heavy but without collapsing. So there's still that element of support in the bowl of the pelvis. And then from here, keep your left knee grounded. Start to send your right leg back into spinal balance. So find that place where the leg is horizontal, shoulders are directly over the wrists. Start to bend into that right knee, send the sole of the right foot straight up without overarching the back. So that back leg is energized. Touch your left hand to your heart and get used to that balance. So opposite arm, opposite leg, we're connecting left and right brain. And then take your left hand behind, reach in the direction of your right foot. Maybe they connect, maybe they don't. This might just be a balance practice for you today. If you are able to join the foot to the hand, start to press the foot into the hand, hug the hand back into the foot. Slingshot the heart up and forward through the upper arms. Square the shoulders, square the hips. Feel that deep stretch in the right hip flexor, top of the right thigh, all the way through the spine. Return left hand, right knee to the earth. Sway the hips side to side to let the sacrum reintegrate. Maybe a few rounds of mini cat-cow in the low spine just to release the back bend. So we don't want to fully round the spine, but just a little bit of that neutralizing action here. And then we'll start to send the left leg back into spinal balance. So really reaching, finding that horizontal plane to activate the left leg. Press down through your finger pads, strong arms here, and then start to bend into the left knee. Send the center of your left thigh up and back without arching in the low spine. So focus the effort from the glute, the back of the left leg. Touch your right hand to heart. Get used to the balance. So feel that equilibrium as you adjust. Start to reach your right hand back. Maybe you find your left foot. Maybe you're just reaching in that direction. You're creating that intentionality. And then start to lift your left thigh up in space. Hug your hand into your foot. Press your foot into your hand. Feel this inner loop, this inner circuit of energy circulating. Breathe here. Big breath in. Slow breath out. This time, as you release the foot, keep your left leg extending. Bring your right hand to the mat, tuck your right toes under. Start to send the left leg up and back into one-legged downward dog. So right leg straightens, bend the left knee, open the hip. Same thing on this side, work to square the shoulders so you have that strong foundation. And then we allow the lower body to rotate. With your next exhale, hug the left knee into chest, around the spine. Bring your knee toward your nose, and then send your left foot through between your hands. Back knee touches down. Untuck the toes, slowly rise up. This time, either opposite arms up above, or you can take opposite arms behind you. Create some support for the lower back as you lift and lean into the back bend. At the same time, press down through the top of your back foot, top of your back shin, and bend more deeply into that left knee. Big full breath here. As you exhale, release the hands to the inside of your left foot. Find lizard pose. Find that nice deep stretch in the left hip. Come onto the top of your back thigh so you feel that length in the right hip flexor. And then slowly start to walk your hands along the diagonal towards the top right corner of your mat. And in your own way, start to straighten that left leg any amount. You can crawl your hands back as far as they need to go. Acknowledge maybe a difference you feel from one side to the other. I know I'm feeling a little bit tighter in the left. Square the hips as best as you can to the front of your mat. Press down through the left heel and hug back towards the left sitting bone. Soften the heart, belly, chest toward the earth as you lengthen the crown away from the base of the spine. Slowly rolling back forward through lizard pose here. Big breath in. Really press down through the arms so that you can lift up through the heart. Feel that extension in the spine. And then we'll slowly take the left knee back, find tabletop here. Sway your hips side to side for a moment. And then from here, start to parallel your hands so that you can rotate the eyes of the elbows in toward each other. So you feel that integration in the arms. Hug energetically to the center. You should feel your biceps, your chest come alive. And then lower the elbows to the mat, keeping the elbows parallel. You have the option here, if it's comfortable for you to keep your hands planted, you can keep them there, or start to bring the hands toward each other, pressing palms in. Sometimes that can take a little bit of the strain off the shoulders. Work to broaden the shoulders apart. You're opening the heads of the shoulders out and away from each other. And then we'll slowly lift into dolphin pose. So this one can be a little bit intense. Just take it one step at a time. So first, we lift the knees to hover. And then we slowly start to straighten the legs while the heels are still elevated. We're working the heart, belly, chest toward the thighs. Let your head hang heavy. Notice if you're holding any tension in your shoulders, can you press down into the forearms and aim to let the crown of the head drop away from the shoulders so you have all that space. And then one by one, pedal out your feet in dolphin pose. And then from here, we'll work a little bit like we did in our plank pose in the beginning of our practice, where we'll walk all the way out to forearm plank. Really extend the spine, so feel that unfolding here. And then from the center of your belly, coil in and up, lift the hips, walk the feet in, dolphin pose. Press the heart, belly, chest through the upper arms. And then slowly walk it back out. Feel that intentional movement, so it's slow and smooth. And then coil in as you exhale. Walk the feet towards the hands, dolphin pose. Press down into the forearms. If you feel any pinching in the shoulders, you can always dial it back a little bit or bring the knees down. Come out to forearm plank. Last time into dolphin. Coil through the belly, lift the hips. Walk those feet towards the elbows. Feel kind of that weight distribution change. And then let the knees drop down. Shake it out a bit. Let your shoulders move side to side. You can take your hands to the top of the mat. We'll slowly unfold into downward dog once again. Step the feet together. Inhale, right leg rises. Bend the right knee, open the hips, square the shoulders. Feel that power, feel that strength. And then slowly hug that right knee in, create energy and space. Step the right foot through between the hands. This time back knee stays elevated. We'll align the feet for warrior one. So let your back heel turn flat, back toes at a slight angle, 45 degrees, maybe to the top left corner. You root down through that back foot and press from the big toe to the heel. So you're creating that internal rotation in the back hip. Bend deeply into the right knee, feel the power in your lower body, and then slowly lift up into warrior one. So we work to square the shoulders and the hips, even though your back hip probably won't come fully square just yet. That takes lots of mobility, lots of practice. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Draw the hip points toward the low ribs so that you're integrated in the belly and you're lifting up through the spine. Feel that surge of energy that comes when you activate and align the spine. Stay in warrior one here. Take your hands behind you, interlace your fingers. Start to draw the knuckles toward the earth as you lift the heart skyward. Then slowly start to coil through the belly to stabilize. Reach the crown of your head forward. Aim your right shoulder to the inner right knee. Bow the gaze, bow the head in for humble warrior. Maybe you stretch the knuckles skyward as you heavy the head towards the earth. Press down through the feet, find that stability and balance. Then we'll slowly rise up halfway. Find your equilibrium. Start to turn on to the back toes. So you come into more of a square lunge towards the front of your mat. And then slowly begin to give the weight from your left foot to your right. Maybe your left foot floats up in tumbling tree. So continue stretching the knuckles skyward as you lift that back foot in the same direction. And then the heart and head feel grounded. They feel that gravitational pull towards the bottom foot. Release your hands to the mat. Find standing splits. So as best as you can, working that bottom leg straight. Keep the back leg straight, even if it has to come a little bit lower. Wrap the inner left thigh up in space. So we're squaring the hips, stretching here, shifting the weight into the ball of the right foot so that we're not pulling on the insertion point of the hamstring. As you're ready, control the descent of your back foot. Stretch it out and back to slowly touch down. Let your back knee find the earth. Start to kickstand your left shin. So I'll be opposite you in movement now as we face the long edge of the mat. Feel that right hip open. Come up into half warrior two. So arms reach out to T. Feel that expansion across the chest. Big breath in and slow breath out. Now, as you start to straighten the right leg, reach your left fingertips until they touch the mat. Find supported side plank here. So right arm stretches overhead, right and arm and leg reaching in opposite directions, creating that spacious quality. You have the option to sort of find your rhythm in this supported side plank or add a little bit of core integration. So from here, press down into your left hand, hug your left knee to right elbow without collapsing in the shoulder. So the shoulder stays in the same plane. Hug knee to elbow, feel that lower oblique. So the left oblique's really firing, creating stability, support. You are so strong. You're tapping into that here. Last two like this. Inhale, reach, extend, and hug the knee to elbow. Find your supported side plank once again, and then sweep that right arm along the horizon to come back into half warrior two. Big breath in here. And slowly take the hands to frame the foot. Start to parallel your back shin. And we'll step back into our lunge, so the back knee lifts first. Take your right foot back to plank. Optional vinyasa here. I'll walk you through each step. So as you inhale, shift the weight forward. Come onto your tippy toes. Then the elbows back. Exhale all the way to the earth. You can stay in cobra with the hips grounded, or upward dog. Roll the shoulders open. Press through the hands, straighten the arms. Lift hips, thighs, and shins off the mat. So only points of support are the hands and the tops of the feet. Dial the shoulders open. Stretch back through the legs. Activate the legs. Downward dog. Exhale. Lift the hips up and back. Enjoy a cleansing breath here. And then we come into our final working wave. Inhale, right leg. Come into the left side. Don't want to skip the left side of our second working wave. Inhale, left leg rises. Bend the left knee, open the hip. I've definitely done that once or twice in teaching, and you can feel it by the end of the practice, that unevenness. So let's not skip the left side. Exhale, now hug your left knee in, around the spine, create space. Step the left foot through between your hands. Prepare the back foot for warrior one. So the back heel grounds down. We're pressing toe to heel so that we're working that back hip towards internal rotation. Lengthen the spine, bend deeply into the left knee. From that power in the base, slowly rise up. Stretch the arms overhead, warrior one. Notice the low ribs. Are they flaring out? Can you integrate the low belly and lift up through the heart? Again, feeling that expansion through the spine here. This time, interlace your fingers behind you, but take the opposite clasp. So the way that feels a little bit awkward, a little bit unnatural, and then start to straighten the arms. The knuckles root down towards the earth. As you do this, square the shoulders, lift up through the heart. Start to coil through the belly. Create that stability first. And then begin to reach the crown of the head as far forward as you can go, all the while pressing through your back heel for support. And then take your left shoulder to the inner left knee, bow the crown of the head inward, humble warrior. Stretch the knuckles up towards the ceiling. Soften the head closer to the earth. Breathing here, in and out. Slowly lift up halfway. Start to shift weight forward onto that left foot. Come on to the right toes. And then gradually give all the weight from your right foot to the left. Feel that transfer happen intentionally, consciously, and come into tumbling tree. So we take heart, belly, chest towards the earth. Knuckles and back leg lift skyward. Square the hips. Wrap the inner right thigh up in space. Last big breath here. Inhale. And exhale, release the hands to the earth. Shift the weight into the ball mound of your left foot. Square the hips, standing splits. See if you can relax the head and neck. Don't worry about how high your back leg is. Focus more on integrating the internal rotation of the right hip. Then you can start to work a little bit higher. If we focus on the height only, we lose some of that integration. So today we're focusing on the separation in the thigh bones. So that square hip length here. Inhale, halfway lift. Control the descent. Slowly lower your right toes down to the mat. Touch your right knee down, kickstand the right shin behind you. We slowly rise into half warrior two. Find that horizontal plane in the arms, a little bit of a stretch across the bowl of the pelvis. And then start to straighten your left leg, reach your right fingertips out, find the mat in supported side plank. Reach your left arm overhead, stretch the left leg in the opposite direction. See if you can lengthen the underside, so the right side equal to the left. And then just the option here to bring that top elbow and bottom knee together. Coil it in. Inhale, reach, find length, and then into that length, contract. So the more space that you can open up in the belly, the more power you have to contract to the center. Let's do 2 more like this. Inhale and exhale. Really press down through the right finger pads so we're not locking into that elbow. Last one here. Both sides of the waist firing. And then on your exhale, sweep that left arm along the horizon. Come back into your half warrior two. Feel that full circle as you come back around. And then exhale, take the hands to frame the foot. Parallel your back shin, lift the back knee into a lunge. Step into your high plank. Big inhale breath here. Shift the weight forward, shoulders over the wrists. And then as you exhale, bend the elbows back. Come down to the earth, untuck the toes. Inhale, cobra with the hips grounded, or upward dog, hips, thighs, knees, shins lift. Exhale, downward facing dog. Big breath in. Slow breath out. Before we start our last working wave, let's continue our heart-opening project here. So as you inhale, bring the feet together, lift the heels high off the mat. Start to pivot the toes to the right, heels to the left. Stack your hips, stack your shoulders. Find your side plank. Root down through that bottom arm and press to lift skyward. So imagine a gentle hand pulling your fingertips up. Can you lift the hips away from the earth? And then step your right foot behind your left. Bring your right hand to your heart. Start to turn the shoulders, the heart towards the ceiling. Lift up into wild thing here. Stay integrated. So it's not just wildly opening despite what the name implies, but we stay integrated. So we start here and then we start to reach the right arm overhead. Really slingshot press up through the back of the heart. And slowly return to your downward facing dog. So take your time coming out. Pedal out the feet. Equalize both sides. We'll shift into the second side now. As you inhale, lift the heels high up off the mat. Pivot the toes to the left, heels to the right. Stack the hips, stack the shoulders. Find your side plank. So really creating that alignment in the shoulders, that broadening across the chest. Step your left foot behind you, stay on the tippy toes. And then left hand to heart, start to guide the heart towards the ceiling. So you're rotating the torso upward. Keep pressing down through the left toes, lift through the back of the heart, and then maybe from that integrated place, start to stretch the left arm behind you, curling the upper back, finding your fullest expression. Slowly coming out as you're ready, downward facing dog. You can take a breath into puppy pose or even with the forearms down, just circle your wrists if you feel any tension there. And now we are ready for our final working wave. So we'll come back into downward facing dog as you are ready. This time, right leg rises. Start to open the hip. And exhale, hug knee to chest, round the spine, create space, step that foot forward. So we progressed from our lunge to warrior one, now open hip warrior two. So the back heel turns flat. This time the foot opens completely. So the short edge is parallel with the knife edge of your foot. So the short edge of your mat, same alignment there. Dial the right knee open, wrap the sitting bones underneath you. So we integrate the entire complex in the pelvis. And then slowly as you root down, rise in warrior two. Feel that strength in the upper body. Engage your arms, stretching out in both directions. Gaze over your right fingertips here. Big breath in. Slow breath out, deepen. Start to wrap your right arm under your left. Find eagle arms. So we wrap at the elbows, forearms, and wrists. If this is too much, you can always take the backs of the hands together or even just reach for opposite shoulders. So find any opening here, any alignment, any arrangement in the arms that feels good. You might thread the arms up and then back down. Breathe here for a few more moments. And then as you're ready, we inhale, shift forward into extended side angle. We still have the bind in the shoulders. And this time, simply unravel the arms. So the right arm reaches forward, left arm overhead. We're suspended. So we have, once again, the obliques firing, working for us, creating that space and awareness in the shoulders. Big breath in. Slow breath out. Slowly come back into warrior two, maybe straighten that leg if it needs a little bit of a posture break. And then we come right back in to warrior two, this time looking for the single leg balance. You can take your left hand to your hip. Start to reach your right arm forward. If you have a block or surface to elevate, you might use that under your right hand. Otherwise, we're reaching forward, shifting the weight from the left foot to the right to lift that left leg up in space. Once you're there, curl your right sitting bone underneath you to stack the hips further. Stack hips, stack shoulders. So it's like finding the same alignment as we had in side plank, but now with the challenge of the single leg balance. You have the option to stay here working the half moon pose or start to bend that left knee. Maybe the left fingertips find the left ankle, the outer edge of the left foot for sugar cane pose, Chandra Shavasana. Open here. Really root down through all four corners of your right foot. And keep the weight shifting into the ball mound of the foot so you don't feel that pulling in the insertion point, the top of the hamstring. And then slowly unravel, bend into the right knee. Let the left toes touch down. Find that gentle landing place. Take your left hand down, start to square the hips. And let your back knee touch down for a moment, hands to the inside of your right foot. Find lizard pose once again. From here, we're going to deepen. We'll bring the forearms to the earth. And just notice how that feels. If that's too much, you can stay on the hands, no sweat. Once you're in lizard pose, start to press through the ball of the back foot to lift the back knee up. And then we'll step the back foot into forearm plank. So you can always come back through plank and then lower down if lizard pose is too much. Shoulders are over the elbows, heart is stretching forward, legs are active, pressing back through the heels. And then here, we're simply going to dip the hips side to side. So left hip, right hip. Here we try to keep the shoulders completely stationary. So it's that rotation happening in the lower body. It's this freedom that we have where sometimes the spine gets stuck and the upper and lower back get sort of fused in movement when we carry tension. But here we're really articulating the movement of the spine, how the lower spine can rotate and move independently. Last one each side here. And then slowly walk the feet in, bring your knees to the mat, come into tabletop. Shake it out, twist the hips side to side. And then we'll slowly unravel into downward facing dog, preparing for the second side here. Step the feet together as you're ready. Inhale, left leg rises. Let the hip open, but again, square the shoulders. And then hug the left knee in. Create that space. Step the left foot through between your hands. Prepare the back foot for warrior two. So the front heel bisects the back arch. Wrap your left sitting bone under. Sometimes I like to use that feedback from the outside in, sort of wrapping with my hand to get the leg into alignment. Press down through the legs to slowly rise into warrior two. Shoulders float directly over the hips, Lengthen out of the sides of the waist. And then wrap the left arm under right. Find eagle arms or any variation in that progression, in that pathway along to eagle arms. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Maybe floss up and down. Keep that deep bend in the left knee. And then slowly on your next exhale, begin to tilt the torso forward into extended side angle, keeping the bind. And then just unravel the arms so the left arm reaches underneath you, right arm up, maybe even overhead. So you have this power in the torso supporting that suspension in space. Big breath in, slow breath out. Come up through warrior two, maybe straighten the left leg for a moment, swaying the hips, kind of resetting, recalibrating before we come into the single leg balance. As you're ready, start to bend into the left knee, right hand finds the right hip. Reach as far forward as you can with your left fingertips. Touch the earth or your block. Begin to slide the back foot in. You are in control, so nice and slowly lift that leg into position. Draw the left sitting bone underneath you to stack the hips. Hug the hip points and low ribs together, and then open into half moon. Gaze down the front line of your body. Make sure you can see your toes wiggling so that your leg is not too far back. Shift the weight into the ball mound of your right foot. And then you have the option here as you continue stacking shoulders, stacking hips. Bend into that right knee. Maybe your right fingertips find your right foot. If they do, just like we did in bow pose, press your foot into hands, hands into foot. Begin to open. If you lose your balance, there's no shame in it. Come right back in. Find sugarcane pose, Chandra Chapasana. Feel that expansion, whole body participating here. If you have the bind, gently release. Slowly lower that back foot to the earth. Right hand touches down, square the hips. Let the back knee lower to the mat. Take your left hand to the inside, lizard pose once again. Lower to the forearms as you're ready. We'll have that same progression now from lizard pose to forearm plank. So if you need to come up onto hands to make that transition happen, feel free to do so. Lift your back knee, come into that lunge. Step your left foot to meet the right forearm plank. This time we'll add on a little bit to that rotation. So press down through the forearm, space in the shoulders. Lift your left toes, tap your left toes behind your right hip. And then transition through center, right toes behind your left hip. So again, shoulders are staying square. We are using that as our anchor point and then rotating the lower body. Tap and tap. Let's take one more time each side. Try not to let the hips collapse so they stay lifted and strong. And come through center, let the knees touch down. Slowly lift into tabletop. Sway your hips from side to side. So we've been working space in the shoulders, length in the spine, particularly through the side channels. And now we're going to put that all together in a few rounds of camel pose. So this can be a very intense back bend. We've worked and warmed the body to this point, but please listen to your low back. Listen to any signs of pinching or twinge. You want to then back off and use more support. So this should feel really good. Yoga does not need to hurt. So I want you to pay attention to that here, especially in camel pose. Tuck your toes under behind you so that your heels are elevated. Lift up through the spine. So find your tallest spine here. All that length that we've created in the sides of the waist. Bring your palms to face up, turn your thumbs out. So we're creating that rotation, that open rotation in the shoulders. And then bring your hands to your sacrum, that triangular bone at the base of the spine. Hug your elbows toward each other behind you without flaring the ribs. Lift up through the heart and chest. And then slowly, as you keep your hands pressing your hips forward, press your thighs forward. Let your glutes fill into your hands. And then stretch the spine up and back. Once you find your maximum extension, maybe your hands reach for your heels. If you can reach for the inner heels, press the inner heels out, hug the inner heels in. So you feel this beautiful stretch across the chest. Hug the chin in towards the chest to keep it integrated. And then if it feels okay, you continue to breathe freely. You can start to drop the head back. Last breath here. Slowly bring the chin towards the chest. Take one hand to the sacrum, other hand to the sacrum, and slowly come out. You can stay in this kneeling position or lower the hips to the heels. Keep the spine upright here. Just give that energy a moment to settle. So these back bends, they really unlock a lot of solar energy within the body. So we give it a moment to integrate without rushing into the next sequence. You might even close your eyes for a moment. Notice the change in your breath rhythm. Perhaps you feel a bit of heat. So really just acknowledging how the movement patterns can influence your energetic body, your subtle body. We'll come in for one more round. This time you have the option to keep the heels flat for a little bit more of a challenge. But if it was hard to find your heels or that felt pretty intense, you can keep the heels elevated with the toes tucked. Same setup here. We're going to take the elbows by the sides, thumbs to face out like you're spinning the hands open. And then we bring the hands to the sacrum, hug the elbows behind you. Start to feel that shift in the thighs forward, so you're keeping the hips over the knees as best as you can. And then you use the hands to draw the sacrum down, lift up through the heart. Keep the chin hugging into the chest. Once you find your extension, then maybe lean back to find your heels. Once again, press the thighs forward, lift up through the heart. And then you have the option to take the head back if you like. I'm going to keep my chin in more of a neutral position. Just trying to preserve kind of that spacious quality in the neck without overdoing it. As you're ready, press down through the shins, take one hand to the sacrum, other hand to the sacrum, and let that settle. So we release hips to heels, maybe sway side to side. Resist the urge to move into the opposite action, so into the forward bend right away. So we really want to let all of the sensation from the back bend dissipate before we come into our counter pose. From here, we'll enjoy just a very gentle twist. Twists can be very neutralizing after back bending. So left hand to the right knee, right hand behind you. Let this not be your most extreme twist, just a very gentle twist to kind of invite the lower spine back to a neutral place. Switching sides, right hand to left knee, left hand behind you, gentle twist. From here, start to lower onto one side. Sweep your legs out in front of you. We're coming into cow face pose next. So this, again, can be a pretty intense posture for the hips. So we'll set it up slowly, take it step by step, and you can always stop at any point along the progression. So wherever you feel kind of your intuitive edge. So we're going to tuck the left leg underneath. Tilt the weight forward so that you're on the very tops of your sitting bones, the front of your sitting bones. And then we'll cross the left leg over top. So this might be a lot of sensation in the outer right hip. You can always keep that knee upright. This can be your cow face pose. If you want to take it to the next progression, we stack the knees on top of each other, clear the flesh from your sitting bones, and you stack the knees. Hug the inner thighs together. Feel that integration to stretch the outer hips. The next progression can be to take the feet to the wide edges of your mat. We tilt the weight slightly forward to deepen that stretch. And for this variation, we're going to add the arms. So we reach both arms up. The left arm stays elevated. Right arm turns down, so thumb faces down, wrap it behind you to crawl the fingertips up the center of your spine. Then take your left palm to the back of the room. Take the left fingertips, crawl them down your spine to meet the right. Don't sweat it if your fingers don't connect today. Just start to create that intention, that direction. Hug the elbows into the midline. Try to curl the low ribs and the hip points together without collapsing in the heart. So a lot of times when we do that, the upper back rounds. So can you keep the integration in the belly, but lift up through the chest? Big breath in. Slow breath out. Enjoying this new spacious quality in the upper body here. Gently release the hands. And take the hands behind you, supported boat pose. So bring the knees together, hug the energy of the legs to the midline, and then lift up through the heart. So you can even take your fingers out in front of you. And then bring your hands to the backs of your thighs, hug your thighs into your chest, lift the chest skyward. So feel that you can create the extension in the spine, even in this core focused, this boat pose. Release the feet down. Take your hands beside you underneath the shoulders, fingers facing out. Upward table, press the hips skyward. Press down through the heels of the hands to stretch the chest. Keep the chin nice and neutral, so not tilting the head back here. Press down through the feet, press down through the hands, and then slowly lower down. From here, we're switching sides, so we'll wrap the left knee under, right knee under, left knee on top. And then you can stay in this position. So if you feel that stretch in the outer left thigh, you might keep the knee elevated or start to stack the knees, clear the flesh from your sitting bones. Find that position first, and then we will add in the arms. So the arms reach up. This time, right hand stays elevated, left arm out to the side, thumb turns down, wrap it around, curl those fingertips up the spine. Turn your right palm to face behind you, and bend the elbow, reach for the fingertips. Hug the elbows into the midline, lift up through the heart, integrate the low belly. You might press your head into your top arm to further lengthen the spine. Last big breath here. And slowly release. Unravel the arms, take them out behind you. You can start to release the legs out in front. Keep the knees deeply bent. We'll hug the toes toward the shins, and then take your feet in your hands. So press the ball mounds of your feet with your hands, really stretching the bottoms of the feet. And see if you can soften the belly between your thighs, stretching the upper back, the spine. So you're pressing feet into hands, hands into feet. And then allow your spine to round here. So finally coming into that counter pose for the back bend. Chin to chest, allowing the entire spine to round in, to turn inward. And slowly start to walk the feet out, lower onto your back bone by bone. Reach your arms overhead. Feel all of that space in the upper back. So this should feel really good now to ground the upper back onto your mat. You can bend the knees, windshield wiper side to side, just kind of any last bits of sensation remaining in the spine, especially the low back. We just give them an exit strategy here, a place to release. And then knock your knees in, bring one hand to heart, one hand to belly. We'll close our practice with a very brief shavasana or resting pose. Find a place that feels like complete comfort. So if you need to make a change, you need to adjust, please feel free to do so. Notice where you feel space in your body. Can your breath flow more freely, more deeply? Use this opportunity to really kind of commit to that deepened breath in and out through the nose so that you're especially in this heightened time of arousal during the ovulatory phase, we are bringing the parasympathetic nervous system online so that rest and digest to balance what is a time of peak energy. So consciously tapping into both the masculine and the feminine, so both the solar and the lunar qualities that are available, so that the result is a balanced place of equal effort and ease. We'll be here about a minute more, just enjoying the rhythm of your breath. Only when you feel ready, invite movement back into your body. Maybe you're moving the jaw side to side, wiggling fingers and toes. Begin to circle the wrists and the ankles. Just slowly bringing your conscious awareness back into your body, into the space. Start to roll to one side of your body. Let there be no rush, no urgency. So really just giving your body, your spirit time to transition. In your own way, pressing up onto the hands into a comfortable seat. You might continue to keep the gaze soft or the eyes closed. Once you find yourself in that comfortable seat, really lift up tall and create some awareness around the upper back, the back of the heart, the front of the heart and chest. All this space that we've carved out, how can you let that carry you through the rest of your day? How can that influence the way you show up, the way you hold your body in space? I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for flowing with me today, for showing up during this peak energy time in your cycle, and for letting your body be moved.